Morning, Avalon Nethery from
Good
Borne, the
morning.
founder of Borne. Thank you so much for joining me on the first word. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you for having me, Tori. I love the first word and what you're doing, so it's really an honour.
Well, I'm obsessed with what you're doing. As I said to you earlier, I said to my husband this morning, I think we will have a third baby, move to Sydney and move into Borne, or I will move into Borne. You will deal with the children.
Yes, we'll take the best care of you. And look, we have opened up the doors to siblings recently as well.
Oh,
Yes, not always possible for a mum and dad, to have that time away from their baby or
yeah.
their other children after they've given birth, and take that time out during the hospital stay and then try and do it again. And some mothers are just more comfortable with their other kids, staying with
Yeah,
them.
I understand that. So let's go back a step. So you have two beautiful little girls who are 1 and 3, and you founded this phenomenal business where you are helping every other mother during her postpartum journey, because you've created a beautiful postpartum hotel called Borne. So walk us through Borne. What is it? Where did it come from?
So Borne is essentially the place between hospital and home. It's a place that you come and where we put mother-centric care at the focus. So often we put so much time and energy into the birth and into pregnancy because there's a lot going on. Yeah. And suddenly you have the baby and you're almost forgotten about, and you are actually one of the key and most important elements of making sure that your family is okay. And if you're not okay, your family won't be okay, that's for sure. So at Borne, we have mother-centric care where you essentially check in with us for a week's stay. We have a nutritionally and naturopathically designed menu, a supplementation program, and importantly, 24/7 staff. So we have a combination of midwives, we've got a doctor, a psychologist, and a whole care and wellness team to look after you, your new family, your baby, and your partner. We've got spa therapies and women's physiotherapy, everything you can think of to make sure that you're being totally cared for and supported in that, extremely challenging and transformational period.
Yeah, it is. When you say the mum is so subconsciously but easily forgotten, it's often the mum who actually forgets herself as well, so therefore forgets to ask for help and appears fine, and then everyone else just assumes you're okay and therefore forgets that even if you are presenting okay and you're getting up and you're eating, sleeping, you might look normal, but everything going on inside, it's so I don't think that matrescence part of life has ever really been spoken to the point where people truly understand what's going on for a woman during that time.
Totally. And, even us as women, before we had children, I had no idea how hard it was going to be, what impact it would have on me physically, emotionally, in every aspect. And really, when a mother is thriving, her family will flourish. That's really what I truly believe. And that then ripples into society. I think, you look at Dr. Oscar Seralich's work, which really inspired and informed a lot of what we do at Borne. We base our wellness program off his beautiful book, which actually have here.
The postpartum depletion cure. Oh, don't you worry. I have read it. Yes. I read it after my second born, and I honestly just wanted to reach out into the pages and hug it, because I was like, oh, so you do understand, this is legitimate what I'm feeling and going through.
And it's really amazing that a male has written that book.
Totally.
And is, standing up for women in such a crucial time. I went and saw him after the birth of my second baby and put myself through his program, and it was really life-changing. But it's hard to keep yourself going. I mean, how many times when you had guests over to meet your baby did you frantically rush around the house to clean it up, Did you like get yourself into normal clothes, out of the bandages, and like put a bit of makeup on and have something there to eat, or coffee or tea for people that were visiting you when you're really in such a time of need? It's just, I look back and, you know, I was one of the first girls in my group to have a baby, and it was just after COVID. So things were a bit funny anyway, but there were so many days that I was lying like on the couch just crying all day. My husband would be at work and the baby wouldn't stop crying. I didn't know how to get her to sleep. She had reflux, and I was just in this dark room just beside myself and so lonely. And now I just never want my girlfriends or other mums to go through that. And I certainly don't want my daughters growing up and giving birth in a world where they feel how I felt. So really that's the driving mission and force behind it, is, you know, taking something negative that happened to you and turning it into a far bigger positive.
That those initial first days, especially with the influx of visitors, family, friends, everyone wants to show their love, bring something. And I think you just feel like, oh, I don't want that person to feel bad, like so-and-so's met the baby, so they have to as well. But you really do have to set those boundaries, because you will burn out. And, you know, that is such a sacred time for you and the baby. But it's also, you know, you could be still in a lot of pain. You could be bleeding. Your milk could be coming in. So you might be engorged, very uncomfortable, very self-conscious. So to even put on a bra when your boobs are killing, you know, you think about it and you're like, well, you don't have to do that. You don't owe anyone anything at that point of time. People absolutely understand. And if they don't park that, they will deal with that later. But it is that those first couple of weeks, months for some, but especially those first couple of days, is I think when women and their partners just have to get really good at setting those boundaries.
Totally. Exactly. And it is a beautiful time for you and your partner to explore what this new family unit is like and learn together. I think a lot also of this inherent knowledge that women should have when their babies are born.
Yeah.
It falls to mothers where they think that they should know how to do everything. And if you give yourself the space and the time to explore what it's like having a baby with your partner, they actually, you know, can take on some of that load and some of that confidence in looking after their baby. And then that ripples into the child growing up as well, because they've formed a really strong and unique bond during that period too.
Yeah. Those, when you bring your baby home and you both look at the baby and think, shit, I got to keep that thing alive. I've got to work out how to feed it. Like, it's such a surreal experience. I remember the first night going to bed thinking, I just need one full night's sleep to catch up. And then it hit me. I was like, I'm potentially not going to get that full night's sleep for 6 months. And that was I wouldn't say it was a low moment, but it was a moment of, okay, like, we're on here. Motherhood has begun.
I know. And you feel so silly because you're like, wait, of course I knew I'd be strapped to this baby. But you don't understand the full weight of that responsibility until it's with you.
Yeah.
And I completely remember feeling exactly the same way, like shocked. It's really embarrassing to say, but I had no idea that babies fed throughout the night until I had the baby. And in hospital, the staff were like, you need to feed the baby every 2 hours. And I was like, wait, what? They don't just sleep in the night? I was just so unaware. God.
When she said, I remember that as well, when they were like every 2 hours, I was like, but every feed is like an hour. So when does the second hour start? Is it an hour? And they were like, it's okay. Like, that intuition will follow. And I just remember thinking, what intuition? I don't feel it right now. Like, it was just, I got so flustered being like, hang on a minute. And then you think, well, I didn't prepare. I didn't whatever. But you can prepare as much as you want. But those first initial stages, there's no book in the world that can invite you to learn that feeling and how to manage that feeling. You can cope, but it's just managing that feeling.
Exactly. And I think being vulnerable as a new mother, and, you know, while we still have children at this age, and speaking to other women and children and opening that book straight up will help change that messaging. You know, so often we're like, why did nobody tell us?
Yeah.
Why were we not aware of all these things that were going to happen? And I think in that planning stage, you're right. Like, we get these nurseries ready that babies aren't even going to sleep in for the first 6 months, 3 to 6 months, when we could have been doing work on ourselves, on our own identities. Like, you know, you think never before in history have we had so many women in the workforce.
Yeah.
We're going from these, you know, high achieving women making money, competing with the boys, and then you find yourself without your job, and potentially for a lot of women without that identity of who you are because you're not working anymore. And you're like, wait, who am I? Am I just a mum now? What are my values? Why am I here? Like, obviously you're raising little humans. There is no greater challenge or value-based thing that you can do, but you need that part of you, and you really need to understand who you are before you go into it.
Yeah.
Because you can really lose yourself in there.
You totally can. And you even become somewhat unrecognizable because your body obviously changes a lot, but also you're getting up every day and, you know, your hair's probably dirty, you're sweaty and covered in milk. You're in clothes that make you feel maybe comfortable, but a bit dowdy. Like it's and it's not a vanity thing. It's just because we're really proud people these days. And when we do go to work, we put on it's like when, you know, it's like when you go to work and you put on your work clothes, all of a sudden you feel this sense of confidence. So you don't have that invitation, that opportunity to do that. All of a sudden you're just sort of at home feeling not your best. And I think that alone can sort of make you feel exactly what you're saying. Like, you lose your identity because you think, what, like, today am I just going to feed the baby, clean up after the baby, wash? Like, is that it?
Totally. Every part of your identity is stripped away. And, you know, in the beauty of that, and we can probably both, you know, testify to this, that you do rebuild. It's like the phoenix coming from that. Yeah, everything is stripped away and you do rebuild, and you are better and stronger than ever before. And you know you can do really hard things after you've had children. I think, you know, there should be nothing more feared than a mother because the strength and power and determination to get through everything that you do for your children, and every part of yourself that you give up, you know, you prove to yourself so much. And in the end, it is worth it. But while you're going through it, it can be so hard, so tough. And yeah, if you could feel more supported. You know, we're in society now, there's many reasons as to why the village is gone. There's social reasons, economic reasons. We don't have that anymore. And we've hit this point where women are burning out. We're reaching our limits. Something's got to give. Something's going to change. You know, it has to. I think we generationally look ahead, and, you know, we know that children that grow up with mothers or fathers that have postnatal, postpartum depression or anxiety are at a threefold risk of developmental challenges as children, and at a 50% higher risk of having anxiety or depression in adulthood.
Wow.
So you add on all these extra layers of stress that our society has. We're in the workforce, you know, we're going through a really hard time economically in Australia with cost of living, and the village is gone. So how is this going to affect future generations?
When you talk about postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, if women in your care experience either or both, is this something they might actually book themselves into Borne because they're going through it? Or have you had an instance where they might have been diagnosed in your care?
Absolutely. So before we take mothers in and before they've had their baby, typically, if we've engaged with them prior to, you know, we're not getting a call being like, can I come in now? I'm desperate. We've done, you know, a lot of talking, and we understand where they're at mentally and what their mental health history has been to date. if they've
Amazing.
ever had any struggles, and if they're concerned about themselves after. That's a really good way, to figure out if we're going to need to put some extra care around that mother, if she should start engaging with a psychologist or counsellor before she gives birth, which is a really great idea if, you have any concerns. We do Edinburgh screening at Borne, so we can find out if you're on the scale or if you're at risk of having depression or anxiety. We're looking out for those markers, and then we can refer out to a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a counsellor.
Amazing.
And, it's about us organising all of those phone calls, giving you the space that you need to connect with them, looking after your baby or children while you're having that phone call, and making sure that you're really in a position where you can have that phone call. If you're at home and you're feeling really bad, but you've got to go get a doctor's appointment and a referral and call a psychologist and try and even get in with them last minute. That's how we are opening the doors and getting access earlier, and making sure that, we've got our little, our flags up to see and understand where each mother's at.
I feel as if those first, I think it coincides with your milk coming in, that women typically can experience the baby blues, which can be a day, a couple of days. But I feel like if anyone's listening and they're about to have a baby or they have a baby and that feeling doesn't wear off and you feel hopeless and you feel down and nothing can sort of bring joy, I feel like in those moments you really do need to talk to your medical practitioner, whoever that is, ASAP, because the thing with postpartum depression and anxiety, I think, is the rate it compounds and just how quickly it can become exacerbated. So it's amazing to hear like that you guys do. Is it the Edinburgh test? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's a screening. Yeah, that's right. It's a short screening, and it helps identify whether you've, got depression or anxiety and if you need referring on. But you're exactly right. Your hormones are changing so rapidly when your milk comes in, day 3 to 5 to 7. You could really have, a big emotional reaction. If that doesn't wear off, if you're feeling irritable, angry and upset consistently, it's that sleep deprivation as well. That's what really compounds, and that's what can make it show up. And, you've got to wonder, we can label things and say, this is depression, this is anxiety. Yes, you have it. No, you don't. But more women than what we think go through symptoms of that after birth and go untreated. So when we did our research at Borne, they say 1 in 5 women and 1 in 10 dads gets postpartum depression. In my results, 50% of the mothers that I asked had experienced some form of depression or anxiety. And then you look at, intrusive thoughts, which are extremely scary. And if you're going through a really dark patch, you're actually scared to reach out to people because you're worried, will they take my baby away?
Yeah.
What will happen if I admit that I'm having some really awful thoughts?
It's scary time. Yeah, I think a lot of shame. I remember with Hamish, my first, I remember those feeds at 3, 4, 5, and you just holding the baby thinking the worst thoughts, like I just want to stand out and throw this baby because I am at my wit's end. And you think, I can never say that out loud because people are going to take my baby away. People are going to think I'm, a risk and a danger to my child. And those thoughts, those intrusive thoughts are, I would say, not always a reflection of postpartum depression and anxiety, but that sleep deprivation, we have to remember sleep deprivation many moons ago was, a form of used as a form of torture. It is incredibly hard for a human to continue to thrive and raise a child while not actually getting to catch up on sleep and not, nourishing your body with rest. And if you do have those thoughts, I would hate for anyone to feel, ashamed or alone, because so many mothers feel them. Those weird kind of thoughts that come into your mind and they go, and you're never going to act on them, but it's again a version of yourself you do not recognize, because that anger and that rage internally, you think, who the hell am I? Like, where is this coming from?
Gosh, you put it so well then. I think, you're so right. You don't even know yourself and you become scared of yourself, particularly with intrusive thoughts. So, being aware of that during pregnancy, it wouldn't come as such a great shock after you've given birth. I was lucky that one of my best friends is a psychologist, and I called her, and I have a psychologist as well, one that I started seeing before even gave birth to my first baby, and she specializes in mothers. And I went to see her specifically because I was concerned about how I'd feel not working. And but I still called my best friend, and I was like, I've just had some extremely intense, intrusive thoughts. I've left the kids in the kitchen and I'm in the bedroom, and I was crying. But because she welcomed those with, it's normal, it doesn't mean you're going to go through with them. Let's figure out a way to get you help. And no one's going to take the kids away. I'm going to support you through this. And, she said all the right things that then I was able to call my psychologist and tell the doctor and, be really honest about them, and therefore receive the care that I actually really needed.
Yeah, it's good on you for making that call, because I for my first baby, I just felt like, come on, every other woman does this. Get your shit together, Tor. It's like, it's going to be okay. You'll sleep, like have a nap. Like, you're really critical in yourself, but you're worth so much more. Like, you need to look after yourself, because the reason you're experiencing that is you're struggling. You're at your wit's end. So you asking for help during that time, or just saying how you feel and offloading and letting someone else kind of hold your space and your feelings, even saying it out loud can make you feel safer and more comfortable in yourself. But it's really hard. I'm sure that phone call would have been really hard to make and, quite upsetting. However, so beneficial in the long run.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just knowing your new level of normal, those things that you see from the outside, new mothers, or, all you see is posts in hospital, and it's like, it's a love I've never felt before. And that's another thing, like bonding with your baby. It doesn't come for everyone straight away. Like, it is common not to bond with your child until they're much older. You're going through so much at that point. And particularly if you've had a traumatic birth, the hormonal changes, bonding is another huge one, that it's normal not to feel a bond or connection. That, yes, every part of you will protect and care for this baby, but you might not feel that intense love.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Other mothers talk about.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's, oh my God, it's such a monumental time, but completely unpredictable how you'll feel in the moment.
Yeah.
So in terms of the way you've set up Borne, it does have a Korean influence. Is that right, in how you've sort of planned this? Because I remember when I read the first 40 days, about that 40 days in sort of more traditional Asian households, where all the women would come into the home and look after mum, and all mum would do is eat and be nourished and feed baby. Is any of that sort of weaved into the Borne experience?
Yeah, it is, definitely. I'm half Chinese, so I grew up understanding that there was a sort of confinement period, or that, there was traditional Chinese medicine involved with mothers that had just given birth, and it was about replenishing your qi and that kind of thing. And absolutely, 85% of Korean mothers stay in a confinement or in a hotel after giving birth, and it's a baby-specific hotel like Borne. And in China, many people have their in-laws move in with them to look after them so that they can follow stricter rules. Here we've done a really contemporary version of that. We do have a traditional confinement menu available. We've partnered with a group called Taste for Life, who offer traditional Chinese medicine and meals that follows, a more traditional way to do confinement. But yeah, it's very much inspired by Asia. It's a hugely emerging sector in America. You've got Borne and postpartum, and so many retreats opening in hotels.
Amazing.
So it's fantastic to see that there really is a postpartum revolution happening right now.
And you mentioned you did a frequently asked question little post the other day, and you mentioned that a lot of your guests are actually second-time mums, which I completely understand. And if I had a choice to come number one or number two, without a doubt, it would be number two, because that's I don't think the postpartum is any, it's still as big as it is, or if not bigger, because you've got a child to look after. So it's emotionally and physically more demanding. So what is this similar when you have your clients come in? Are they typically second or third time mothers?
Yeah, most of the, pretty much, I'd say like 80% of the mothers that are inquiring have children already. I think because they really understand how hard it is after. We do get some new mums inquiring, but it is, you put yourself back in that pregnancy time as a first-time mum and you feel like the to-do list is so long. So this is sort of on, it's there's an education piece that you and I are both working towards about this before life, or sorry, after life, life after babies. So I do see that the further down the track we get with Borne, and the further down the track all these women that are working in this space get, it will become more widely accepted and known that we really need to care for a mother postpartum.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're in a luxury space right now. That is the only way to make it work, because we've got 24/7 care. The cost of care is really expensive. So we've designed this in a luxury model where that cost of care is split. But it's my goal and to make this accessible to every mum. And that means, getting really robust partnerships with private health insurance and government, which I understand is down the track, and we need to prove that there really is a huge gap here, a gap in care.
You have a massive workload. You are incredible to have 2 kids and to be taking on health insurance and the government to build what you're building. I would love to ask, because I feel like women in this space who are, and we both know that when you build any business now, you have to be very forward facing on social media. So a lot of it looks nice. But the thing about the behind the scenes is it's very scrappy, it's very messy, it's very ad hoc, it's very if I think about my morning just before I'm calmly sitting here with you, it's like the morning in fast forward, all I can think of is running, picking up something, there's so much going on. How in the most practical terms every day, how do you manage that juggle?
Oh, it is complete and utter chaos.
Yeah, it's a shit show.
You would see behind the screen right now, like there's a million things that need doing.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. They're behind the facade. There is a lot going on. I guess it's if your mission is so deep within you that you cannot stop, that you cannot think of not doing this, that's what gets you through it, right? I know you feel that too. It's not easy. It is not for the faint-hearted, but as I said, mothers are, the strongest people, and we have the capacity to take on a lot. And when that a lot is for the greater good, I think that's what drives you to get through, but it's extremely hard right now. And I understand that. But what's the alternative here? The alternative is that I'm not showing up every day doing this, and every part of me, every cell in my body has to change this current landscape, I can't not. So what else am I going to do? Give up? Like, no, but
yeah, I guess it's like when if you go to an exercise class and they always say, like, you've done the hard part, getting here is the hard part. It's almost like getting to work every day, or whatever your work situation looks like. For me, it's at home. So it's literally just getting to a sort of a clean surface where I can work. But getting me there, it's a rush, and there's a lot of noise. It's very overstimulating with kids. You get out the door and someone can't find their shoes, someone needs to go to the toilet. Like, it's so uncomfortable because you relinquish all control. You don't have any. But the moment you get through that, which you do, and then you sit down at your work, which is often the place which lights you up, it gives you the energy, you feel good. If you can, it's just about getting there. And as you say, it's just about showing up. And that the hard part is just that juggle at many points during the day, but it absolutely is doable. But you're right, it's not for the faint-hearted. However, if you are someone, I think, who is a mother and feeling that loss of identity, to consider maybe finding a way to go back to work or finding something else apart from the raising your kids, even if it's a hobby, it can be so energizing and so freeing. And it does, and you think it's too hard because you'll have to organize this and organize that. But if you can make that work, it is just the most, I think, beneficial thing for the mental state of mind for a mum, just to have to be able to sort of compartmentalize a little bit more.
Yes, completely agree. I mean, like you, home is where I work from too. And exactly the scene that you just played out is exactly what happens for me as well. And I think the fact that we're both in this space of mother care, mother-centric, conversations, and we're working with a lot of other mothers, it's acceptable to bring your baby to meetings. It's acceptable to hear a baby crying in the background. And speaking to other women, just like today, you're going to give me the energy to push on. And I guess it is just one foot in front of the other. Just keep doing the best you can. And in a way, there's a lot of guilt. I'm sure you feel that too.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's I think it's the heaviest feeling every day. Is guilt. Yeah.
That's right. But is it going to make us better people? Yes. Are we constantly trying to figure out ways not to be irritable and angry with the kids because it's really not their fault? When we're trying to work and they're listening to Peppa Pig really loud and fighting over a water bottle, like, me as a human, can I overcome and become calmer as well? And part of, I guess, what I'm trying to do for other women and help them with, I've got to, take my own medicine too.
Yeah, absolutely. That feeling as well at the end of the day when they do go down and you've bathed and, fed them and whatever, it is such a dopamine hit. You're sort of like,
isn't it?
I did it. And you're waiting for everyone to come out from the woodwalks and give you an applause. You're like,
yes. That is so true. It is so true.
And then you could do it again tomorrow and it's no big deal. And everyone on the street is doing the same thing. But it's, it doesn't mean it's any easier, but it's to get to those moments and say to yourself, good on you. You did do it.
Totally. And you knocked about, you got through another concept at work, or you met someone really great, or you added a new page to the website, or got another booking, or supported someone else in an amazing way, or made an impact. Wow, it is worth it. Isn't it?
Totally. So in terms of, there was a post you put up, and I have such an interest in this because it's so typical for busy women and mums to get up and have a coffee and not eat until later, or eat scraps. But that coffee, can you talk me through why, and I am such a big culprit of this, why we should be thinking about eating first or eating with that coffee if we are drinking coffee? Because I am quite a manic person, and I often think, don't drink the coffee, eat, have a glass of water and then do the coffee. But before I know it, I'm 2 shots in. So tell me walk me through this.
In terms of anxiety, it is not good for anxiety at all. Obviously, you digest it so much better if you're eating. And I'm sure if, you speak to a naturopath or, someone that really knows what they're talking about with this, they would be able to give a much better answer. But I do really try first thing I drink quite a bit of water first thing, because I just imagine it filling my brain up with water, and often I'll have salt in it for the electrolytes.
Wow.
I can't speak to exactly, all the scientific reasons behind that, but there are a lot if you look them up. And then, it's about the compounding effect of all these small actions, right? If you're just smashing coffees in the morning and you're not nourishing yourself with macro or micronutrients, and you're, really getting your adrenals in overdrive and you're feeling anxious, that's not going to set you up for a great day. It's not going to make you feel nourished. It's not going to help your blood sugar levels. It's not going to help with anything. So making sure that you're really hitting proteins and fats in the morning. You know, for me, I love to like exercise first thing, and that's really hard when you've been up all night with the kids. But I know that is the only thing for my mind health that will get me through the day and give me that hit of endorphins. And once I've exercised, I'm then nourishing my body with eggs, usually with some kind of protein. And that's when I'll allow myself to have a coffee. Yeah. You do feel much better. And usually I'll try and wait, you know, a little while until I've hit sort of 9 o'clock. And then I can, you know, the house is all set, the kids are occupied, we've gone and done something. Now I can sit at my desk, enjoy my coffee and use the coffee for productivity as well.
Absolutely. I think it is hard for women when your body does change so much, and then you have an opportunity to go back to exercise and to think about, you know, finding the shape that you once were. And we are all, that's only human. I have never enjoyed food more than now after having 2, because now food is something, so food is luxury. Like eating is, I love it. So now the care factor is still there. I'm like you, exercise is a massive part of my morning. But it's like Zoe Foster-Blake, I watched her, she did this story the other day and she watched her husband, Hamish, cleanse his face and then go to bed. And she was like, the cleansing's great, but you've stripped your skin. You've got to now replenish. And he didn't get that. And she's like, we've taken all the goodness out and tick, but now you've got to put that oil, put that moisture, put that hydration lock back. And it's exactly the same. Like you go out, you do your exercise, but now it's time to like refuel, like replenish, feed your body. You know, food, it's so bad how we've all been like triggered with fear around food, but food is fuel. Food has such a direct relationship with mental health. And I think if you are, that anxiety you speak of, it is incredible. If you are feeling racy and anxious and you drink a liter of water or 2 glasses of water and eat and give it an hour, it is remarkable how you can see your nervous system calm. But you have to eat and hydrate.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's such a hard time. You want to exercise, but you also don't always have energy to exercise if you've been up all night with a baby or kids. And then you just feel guilty and you feel bad. And I mean, so many of us women have an issue with food, right? But when I know that I've exercised and that it's a really beautiful, balanced meal, I can really enjoy it and feel good about nourishing myself in that way.
Yeah.
I think also when you have toddlers and you notice the difference in what they're eating and how they react and behave without a filter. So if my daughter eats like just sugary stuff or fruit or like a breakfast cereal, and seeing her mood and her ability to respond to things versus when she eats an omelette is remarkable.
Yeah. We gave George, who's 2, 2 marshmallows the other day, and I reckon within 20 minutes it was like he'd turned into the Energizer Bunny. He was just, his like energy just went roaring, and we were just watching him going, what? And it was that sugar rush. You know, they're so not used to digesting that kind of food that it is like the effect is dramatic. It is absolutely exacerbated in little people, and it's such a good reflection. Like, oh shit, because then you crash, and then the mood is horrendous. So then he had a nap, and then when he got up, he was a shocker, an absolute shocker, because he'd had the big sugar rush, the big drop, and then he didn't know if he was here, there, or anywhere. And watching that is similar to watching everything that we give ourselves, which might feel great in the moment, but even things like wine, like you feel great, and then you sort of the decline is real, and we all feel it. Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah, that system dysregulation. And I'm still trying to figure out what to do with my kids with like the whole treat thing, because my daughter Billy is like obsessed with wanting treats all the time after she's done something good. I probably used it as a reward too much.
Yes.
you don't want them to be obsessed with it to the point where you go to a party and they're like going crazy because they never get it at home.
Yeah, totally.
You want to be able to introduce it. I don't know. I'm still struggling with figuring that out. But the wine thing is totally true. Like after my first, I was craving like having a glass of wine every night. And now with the business, I have to show up as, you know, give myself the best opportunity to show up. I feel like I'm taking a lot of big risks at the moment. And if I'm drinking, the anxiety creeps in and the disbelief in myself also creeps in. So being able to approach business and work with a completely clear mind, clear from alcohol, you know, clear from all that kind of stuff, then I am confident in my decision making.
Yeah, totally. I'm so curious. So you've got Borne, which is obviously 24/7, 7 days a week, and you are Borne. So how do you relax? When do you take time off? And when do you truly feel, what makes you feel calm and like you're getting proper rest and time off?
We'll figure that out soon. I mean,
to be continued.
Yeah, it's really hard at the moment in terms of, you know, during the early stages of founding something like this, you're going to know that it's, you know, head down, butt up. You've just got to do it. And I just keep focusing on that long-term mission. And, you know, you want to set things up the right way. And in terms of the back end stuff, like I've really worked a lot on the policies and procedures and setting it up with the right people and making sure that, you know, there is a point where we've set up such a strong brand and everybody is drinking, you know, the same juice and we all intrinsically, you know, have the core missions and values in us that, you know, the team's working really well on that. So it's not something you can step away from. And it's the same as you, I'm sure, you know, you are TFW, like you can't step away from it yet. And that's just the reality of it, isn't it? I mean, otherwise you know, you're going to go back to working for someone else, really.
Yeah, I think what helps is if you love it so much, it always feels like work, but you love it. So it doesn't have that same, it comes with no dread. Might come with fatigue or long nights or really early mornings, but you never dread it because it's yours and you are so, you believe in what you're doing for the, you know, benefit of others. So walk us through Borne. So so women come and stay for 1 week and they get a room. What are talk us through the experience.
Yes. So women come and stay for 1 week. Obviously we can customize that length of stay, but essentially we do offer 3 to 4 night sort of packages. It works best when it's a shared group of women. So when there's at least 3 months staying, because that cost of care is split. At the moment, I'm just have a big point to prove. So I am accepting, you know, bookings whenever, if a mum wants to come and check in without having, you know, the pressure of me booking 3 other mums to make it stack. It just doesn't for me at the moment. So I'll work at a loss until I prove that it's a necessary service.
Yes.
But essentially we have beautiful bay view rooms in the InterContinental in Double Bay. They're all next to each other. And at the end of the hall, we have the Borne Mothers Suite, which is a beautiful place where mothers can come and use as a mother's lounge and partners. In there, we have like a made tea station, snacks, a little library, that kind of thing. And we also have a night nursery. So in Asia and at some hospitals in Sydney, you can use a night nursery, which is absolutely incredible if you just need the space and you need to sleep. In saying that, lots of mums want to have their babies right next to them. So you don't have to use the night nursery. Our staff are in there 24/7. So if you had your baby in your room, you would just page us and we would come in to assist. So say in the middle of the night, you had your baby in your room and it was time for a feed, you would page us, or if you wanted a scheduled feed, we would come in, we would take the baby out, get you in a comfortable position so you're still in bed that whole time, position the baby for you, make sure you're comfortable, get you water or a snack. Once you're finished feeding, we would then take the baby, but settle so you can go straight back to sleep. Or maybe you're using the night nursery, so you have pre-expressed milk, or you're using formula that we are feeding the baby with so that you can get a whole night's sleep and bank as much sleep as possible.
So the night nursery is a nursery where the babies are sleeping through the night. So is there the opportunity for women to pop baby in the night nursery and for you to come and get them when bub feeds so they can still breastfeed?
Yeah,
that is incredible. And how beautiful as well. Like this, I just think it would be so amazing if you woke up at 2 to feed a baby and walked in to see your baby and another woman feeding hers, and then sit down, and you don't necessarily have to talk, but just feel that. It's like when you're in Coles and there's another mum, you know, in the formula aisle or in the nappy aisle, or you're just like, you sort of, there's that connection. Like you just feel you know, connected to her because you're like, I get what you're going through, same. And there's that unspoken, like harmony between the two.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the mother's lounge. If in the night the baby did wake for a feed and you were breastfeeding or you wanted to feed the baby, we would wheel the baby back to your room. So you literally just had to stay in bed. Like you don't have to get up and walk down the hallway and sit in a chair and feed there or anything like that. But yeah, during the day, pop into the mother's lounge, connect with other mothers, you know, or if you want to, completely retreat from the world and stay in your room in your little bubble with your partner and don't worry about cooking and cleaning and, you know, all those multitudes of things that we worry about at home.
So it is, the experience is, because it's the, is it with the InterContinental?
Yeah.
So it's a luxurious hotel experience with the benefits of a night nurse pretty much, but far more than that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like going to a health retreat with your baby.
Amazing.
That's how we've designed it in terms of this full wellness program that's inclusive of both mother and father, however involved or your partner wants to be in it, because we know depletion does affect partners too. But really, so we signed with the InterCon and use their beautiful facilities. You know, there's a rooftop pool there, which is incredible. So we take mothers anywhere up until that 4-month mark. So maybe you've been at home and you're on month 3 and you're sleep deprived, or your baby has reflux, or you're still needing extra assistance and care. You can come and you can enjoy a swim in the pool, or, you know, lie by the pool. And it's really beautiful having, you know, the InterCon's level of service with our service on top. You know, there's everything's covered.
So so women can come with a baby up to 4 months old.
Yeah, around that mark. Like, I'm not ruling any hard and fast rules around that. If a mother was to call up and was seriously struggling, it's so individual. As you know, every mother and baby and family is so different. So it's really about speaking to each mother, understanding where they're at, what their issues are that they're facing and how they want to feel supported, and whether or not we can help them through that.
Especially, I guess, with prem babies who often are, even at 8 months, sort of probably a little bit less kind of developed, or so it's so different, case to case. So what's the max? Like, can women just move in? Can we just come the first 4 months?
That would be amazing. I mean, we can offer, you know, care more traditionally. If you look at Chinese confinement, they would engage with something like this for a month. It's just something that might not be affordable for every family. So that's really the limitation on it currently, until I get, you know, a really good sort of partnerships with this going.
Well, I've got two more questions, but I did so for women who are who have a friend or a family member having a baby, could a stay 3, 7 nights, whatever it is, be something that they could pull together for like a baby shower gift? Is it?
Yes.
And then that mum then comes to you and does that sort of that work ahead of time. that's the
Absolutely.
situation.
Yeah, for sure. We've got, all of the food, supplements, beautiful products that we use are available to purchase as well. So we have gift vouchers that can be purchased for a beautiful baby shower gift or a new birth gift, and that mother can put that towards the stay. Maybe people have been generous enough to give the whole stay. I have a few mums staying whose parents have actually paid for it, which is so beautiful.
So nice. Yeah,
it's so nice. But yeah, you can put it towards any of our services, in-home care, hiring a night nanny, hiring a nanny of any sort, sleep consultant, a doula. I've trained as a doula myself.
Wow.
So yeah, there's lots of options. It's really about working with each family and individualizing their care.
Yeah, amazing. I think those what you speak of, especially the food when you've had a baby, when someone brings you a meal, and because you often think, oh, it's not going to help, but here's a whatever. It is so helpful. It is the biggest gift, and it doesn't have to be homemade. They could have just popped in and bought you a pie, a lasagna, a salad, whatever it is. It is a loaf of bread. It is beyond of such value.
Totally. You're so right. I remember that feeling. It's like eating a hug. It's like
it is.
I still remember all the specific meals and things that people brought me during those periods and how delicious they were because you were starving.
So hungry. I don't think I've ever eaten a spanakopita faster in my life than when someone bought it and said, just freeze it. I was like, freeze it? I was like, I'm putting this thing straight in the oven or eating it cold. I don't care. I'm just eating it.
It is the most beautiful gift to show up to a mum's house and leave food on their doorstep. I had a friend deliver Harris Farm and it was just bags of snacks and food, and I cried. I was like, this is the nicest thing ever.
Oh my God. I actually one night with my second, he had colic. So one night I was Googling what to do. Anyway, a lot of people suggested the cocooner. So I jumped on, I couldn't get one delivered fast enough. So I jumped on Facebook Marketplace and I messaged this woman it would have been in the threes, like 3:17 or whatever. And she was like, I'll deliver it in the morning, no worries. So she dropped it off to my house at 6:30. It was pouring with rain and dark. And she'd stopped on the way and got me a coffee and a croissant. And she goes, I could tell by the time that you ordered it what kind of night you were having. And I will never forget that. And I can't even remember her name. It'll be on my Facebook. But and now I'm like, pay it forward. Like, just go that extra mile for a mum. And it's not even going an extra mile. To bring a coffee is so easy, but wow, like the smallest things can be so meaningful to a new mum, not in crisis, but just a new mum going through that matrescence period postpartum.
Oh, that's really beautiful. I love that story. That is so nice. It does. It just is a beautiful way to look after someone else in our world.
Well, speaking of, you've got a baby sleeping behind you, so I will let you go, but I'm so curious to ask you the first word question. So what is the first word you think of when you hear the term matrescence? And I love using that term because of that book, The Postnatal Depletion Cure by Dr. Sarah Leach. I just think more people need to know about it. So what is the first word when you think of matrescence?
Rebirth, definitely.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. I feel like it's when people speak about losing their old self, you do, but you're just a different version of you, not necessarily a new you, just different. And it is that rebirth period. That's a beautiful way of thinking about it.
You're 100% upgraded for sure. Any mother would be such an incredible asset to teams, to workplaces, to everything. Mothers are incredible. So, I mean, I wouldn't trade in who I was to who I am now. Yeah. Even though, we've gone through so many challenges, they've all led to this moment, which is amazing.
I totally agree. And if anyone is looking to hire and they're fearful because someone has young kids, you will never have a more productive team member or a more rational team member than someone with children, regardless of their age. Like mums, just that productivity level is, whoa.
Like, yeah, totally. I can't believe what I used to get done in an hour compared to what I can do in an hour now.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you said before about, juggling it and trying to get, all the kids prepared so you can get that little bit of work in. You get so much work done because you're not going to get much done.
And it's nothing against women without babies. Like, their productivity is roaring as well. It's just the different level of having a dependent in your company that comes first. That added level of, it's so many things, that push of just natural productivity into, oh my gosh, it's wild. So yeah, if anyone's looking to hire, look for mums or mums to be.
Totally agree with that.
Oh, Avalon, you've been such a treat to speak to. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it. I know this is probably your downtime. You've got a sleeping baby, and
Oh no, this is go time. It's all good. I loved this. It was so nice to speak to you, Tori.
I can't wait to share the episode. I'll link up all the links to bookings, just frequently asked questions so people can hear more about it, and of course socials. But thank you for not only coming on the podcast, but for building Borne. I think it is so special and so needed by the wider community and mums at large. So you're a treasure.
So are you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.